Dear friends, welcome to this week's virtual Drasha. This week we have the incredible privilege of Parshas Mishpatim. And the bulk of the Parsha really deals with tort law, the laws of damages, obligations of interpersonal conduct, the concept of tzedakah, or the obligation of tzedakah, of being charitable, kind, empathic, loving to one another. But towards the end of the Parsha, the Torah reverts back to the narrative of Kabbalah Torah, Sinaitic revelation. And doesn't just revert back, but really goes back to one of the most incredible and overwhelming parts of Kabbalah Torah. In Parachav Daled Pasuk Zayin, chapter 24, verse 7, the Torah says, Kol asher diber Hashem na'aseh v'nishma. When the Ribbon Shalom comes to Klal Yisrael and offers them the Torah, when Moshe Rabbeinu says to Klal Yisrael, the Ribbon Shalom is willing to give you a very part of himself and come down on the mountain and experience this incredible moment of connection, of spiritual intimacy, so Klal Yisrael responds, and what do they say? Whatever HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, na'aseh v'nishma, we will do and we will listen. The ultimate statement of blind faith. Klal Yisrael doesn't ask, okay, what's in it? Give it to us for a couple of days. We'll review it, show it to our attorneys. We'll think about it. Let's look at the fine print, look at the big print, look at it. Klal Yisrael says, you know what? If HaKadosh Baruch Hu is offering it to us, Kol asher diber Hashem na'aseh v'nishma. Whatever HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving us, we're in. We're in. Na'aseh, we are committed. V'nishma, we'll hear later on, ultimately, again, what it has to say. The question that everyone kind of has when they look at this is, how do you get to that level, right? In other words, at the end of the day, what do I want more than anything in life? I want to be Na'aseh v'nishma also. I want to be all into my Yiddishkeit. I want to be all in my commitment to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So how do you understand this dynamic of Na'aseh v'nishma? How did Klal Yisrael get to that level where they were just simply willing to commit without even fully understanding the scope, extent, and nature of the commitment? And the great tzaddik, the great Rabbi Yisrael of Rajim, the Heilige Originer, says something absolutely beautiful, and I want to quote you. He says, Mishulim hayu Yisrael sheba'o sadar, letinok ro'ev habochem mevakesh lechol. Klal Yisrael was like a hungry, crying baby. A hungry baby. Baby's crying. Why? Baby wants to eat. So the Rebbe says, Klum dea bo yilahavin shamaycho mashkit esarav. Does the baby understand intellectually that food is going to go ahead and take care of the hunger? Of course not. Lo, ki ela me'etzem tiv'ohim nirshach lekach. The baby understands that it's hungry, right? But the baby doesn't understand intellectually that it's hungry. It just understands that it's hungry. The baby also understands if I cry, I'll get something to eat. And the baby understands that once I get something to eat, I'll feel better. None of this is intellectual. All of it is simply instinctual. The baby instinctively understands that it needs something. It's in a state of deficiency. I cry, give me something to eat. The Rebbe says something so beautiful. He says, Af Yisrael, kevan sha'amdu bahar Sinai paskazu masan, chashu begufan ki amazon haruchni chasr lahem. The Rebbe says, when Klal Yisrael, when we stood at Har Sinai, and Chazal tell us that when we stood at Har Sinai paskazu masan, the residue of the initial sin of Adam and Chava, that residual effect of that first sin ultimately stopped. It was Pasak Zu Masan. It was the Kedusha of the place lifted it. When that was gone, says the Rishon, Klal Yisrael were like a hungry baby. Like there's something missing. We need something. He goes on, he says, Ki amazon haruchni chasar lahem. Klal Yisrael in that moment felt that there was spiritual nourishment missing from us. Harav matzik v'nafsham haisa kala v'yotzis lekabelas haTorah. There was something deficient. We needed something. So the Rebbe says something so beautiful. This is Na'aseh v'nishma. Haisa efam tshuvasam Na'aseh v'nishma tivis ma'ot. And this is incredible. The Heilige Originer says, Na'aseh v'nishma was not an intellectual response, because intellectually that makes no sense. If the intellect is driving the ship, then what you say is, okay, Kadosh Baruch Hu, I hear what you're offering. Let me see it. Let me learn it. Let me review it. By the way, that's what all the other nations of the world did. Right? Kadosh Baruch Hu offered the Torah to each of the other nations. And what did they say? Let's take a look. I'm not saying no. But before I commit to anything, I just want to understand what it is that I'm stepping into. And then when HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes to Klal Yisrael and simply standing by Har Sinai, feeling the Kedusha, the residual effect of the initial sin of Adam and Chava simply slips away. And Klal Yisrael says, we're hungry. There's something deficient. There's something missing. There's something that I need. The Rebbe says, Nasa v'nishma was the instinctive reaction. It wasn't intellectual. It wasn't the mind driving the ship. Klal Yisrael in that moment were like a hungry baby. So what does the hungry baby do? The hungry baby cries. Because crying is the way that the baby alerts everyone around it that it needs something to eat. And then it gets something to eat, and Baruch Hashem is satiated. And that's not intellectual, it's simply instinctive. Says the Rebbe, Hayabar lahem shemuchrachim lekabel osa. Klal Yisrael understood that they were spiritually hungry. So Na'aseh v'nishma was not the intellectual response, but it was the instinctive response to satisfy that spiritual hunger. He goes, Lachein, kiblu below shum hisus, af ki terem shamu ma kasav ba. Therefore they accepted the Torah without any hesitation. Na'aseh v'nishma, like that. Why? Because like a hungry baby that needs to feed, that needs to eat, the baby cries, give me something to eat, and I'm good. Klal Yisrael was hungry. Na'aseh v'nishma was the instinctive reaction, and then we became spiritually sated. It's an incredible insight into Na'aseh v'nishma, an incredible and overwhelming insight, but I think what it also does is gives us a window into another part of our persona. Instinctively, we want a connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Instinctively, I want ruchnius. We so often make our Yiddishkeit about the intellect. You know, we live in an age where there is such a beautiful proliferation of learning, right? I'm recording this video, it's going to be posted on YouTube, on a podcast, on a here, and there, on a website. It's beautiful. It's incredible. On the other hand, sometimes, what that could lead to is that proliferation of learning, which is incredible. I want to go on record. Learning is fantastic. But sometimes we make the mistake of making our Yiddishkeit all about the intellect. And it's not. There's a beautiful part of my Yiddishkeit that is just instinctive. I'm naturally attracted to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I naturally gravitate towards Ruchnius. You'll say, but I don't, but that's not me. So dear friends, very often we just get in our own way. And very often we get in the way of the neshama just taking me exactly where it is that I need to go. You know what happened at Har Sinai? Once the negativity of the first sin of Adam and Chava was removed, once the Kedusha of the atmosphere removed that, instinctively, I say Na'aseh v'nishma. Nobody coached me. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't give us the words. We said in unison together, Na'aseh v'nishma. Because instinctively, what a Yid wants is Kedusha. Instinctively, what a Jew wants is connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And instinctively, by the way, we don't say E'aseh v'esh. We didn't say it in the singular. We said it in the plural, Na'aseh v'nishma. Because instinctively, what a Yid wants is Achdus, is unity. We so often think that we have to go and find Ruchnius. We have to go and find connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We have to go and strive for Achdus. And says the Heilige Rishner, what we learn from Na'aseh v'nishma is, instinctively, you want those things. Instinctively, the desire and love for those very things, for Torah, for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for Klal Yisrael, for Achdus, those are embedded within me. Just what ends up happening is, I get in my own way. Sometimes the averas that I do, they distance me. The poor decisions that I make, they distance me. Or just my own stuff just pushes me away. But if I could clear the playing field a little bit, or better state, if I could clear sometimes the personalistic minefield, instinctively I'm drawn to Kedusha. Instinctively I'm drawn to everything beautiful and holy. Instinctively, I say Na'aseh v'nishma. Like the crying baby who instinctively cries because he needs to eat. Instinctively, I say Na'aseh v'nishma because Chalash Baruch Hu, I'm with you. I want to be with you. I want to be part of you. I want to be with Klal Yisrael. I say it in the plural. It's the instinct. And so I think what the Rishner is teaching us is that sometimes what we have to work on, a lot of times in life, we think that what we need to work on is, devoting more time to our learning, which of course we should, and devoting a lot more time to kind of like the development of our intellectual Yiddishkeit, which is beautiful and wonderful. But I think that there's another derech as well. Same derech, parallel derech. You have to pursue both of them at the same time. And maybe what it requires of us is actually to become a little bit more of a Pashat Yid, of a simple Jew. Anything and everything I need to accomplish as a Jew is innately inside of me. It's just that because often there's so much schmutz, and there's so much negativity, and there's so much other stuff, so there's this blockage between me and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, between me and myself, between me and my people. But if I could clear that all out, Paska Zuhu Masan, if I could clear out that negativity, then innately my response is Nasa v'nishma. Of course I want closeness. Maybe if we could work on ourselves a little bit more, just to be a bit simpler, to say, you know what, let me kind of get rid of the layers. Let me get rid of the blockages. Let me get rid of all the stuff that's there. And once you do that, instinctively my neshama responds, Nasa v'nishma. I don't need to figure out a way to get to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to get to Torah, to get to Am Yisrael. I just need to clean out the stuff that is obstructing those multiple journeys. And then like the crying baby, I just say Nasa v'nishma. And I think as I get older, I think as we all get older, we recognize that Ruchnius and relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, relationship with ourselves, relationship with Klal Yisrael, is much simpler than we think. And it doesn't require finishing Shas, which is a beautiful accomplishment that we should all aspire for. And it doesn't require learning Kol HaTorah Kula, which is an incredible accomplishment that we should aspire for. And it doesn't require us to be the most magnanimous Balei Tzedakah, which of course we should be gebenched, that we should aspire to do. It just sometimes requires removing the negativity, removing the obstacles, removing the layers of schmutz, and allowing my innate desire for connection to come out. Nasa v'nishma was not an intellectual exercise. Nasa v'nishma was recited or was stated by a Jewish nation, ultimately who had removed the blockages, removed the negativity, and like the crying baby, just had an instinct to come close. We should be zocheh miras Hashem, to clear away the blockages, to figure out how to get rid of the zuama, the negativity, and discover that innate, beautiful, spiritual baby within ourselves. To discover the Na'aseh v'nishma inside each of us. And once we discover it, to be zocheh to come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, be zocheh to come closer to Torah, be zocheh to come closer to ourselves, be zocheh to come closer to all of Am Yisrael. Wishing everyone a good Erev Shabbos and a beautiful Shabbos Kodesh.